All right, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Monona Landmarks Commission for Tuesday, October 15th. Thor, do you have the roll, please?
Yeah, we're all set.
Fantastic. Next, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the August 27th, 2024 meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes pass. Fantastic. I think we have some folks, or do we have anyone here for the appearance section, Thor?
Yeah, so Alder Bernstein is here. We can keep things to the appearances section, or if you want for the agenda items that he wants us, to discuss with the board, then we can open the floor during those items at your discretion.
Okay. Alder Bernstein, do you have a preference?
Yeah, I'll say a few words.
Okay.
And then if you have questions, I'll stick around for a little bit.
Fantastic.
All right, I'll sit up here. Is that right? I don't know what you wanted to do.
I'm gonna add my actually presenting the agenda.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I know you from another committee. I know you from, just because I know you.
Yeah, thank you.
We know each other. So my name is Rick Bernstein. I live on McKenna Road. And I just wanted to let the commission know there's a couple opportunities out there for doing work with underrepresented communities. One is with Dane County. They have a program now where they're soliciting nominations from local communities, schools, anybody to nominate a property. And it's not a very extensive process. It's just a very quick questionnaire online. It could take all of 10 minutes to get something on their list. I think they have 30 properties that have been nominated so far. I know I've nominated about 4, but it's open to anybody. The catch is it's got a deadline for this year of October 18th, which isn't a lot of lead time, but like I said, it's fairly simple and I'd be glad to help if the commission wanted some assistance in that regard. There are a couple properties I think might be worth considering. One is Harry Whitehorse and his home and studio. He was pretty well-known local artist. We certainly celebrated him with our festival not too long ago. But I think it would be eligible for a historic marker. And that's the kind of thing might be worth getting in on the list with Dane County. The other thing I think might be worth looking at is Royal Airport / Charles Lindbergh. There's part of that marker deals specifically with Charles Lindbergh and his heroic efforts for aviation. But there's another side to the individual in terms of his anti-Semitism. He's a hero, but he also has kind of a darker underbelly in terms of his historic impact. And so that airport marker, I think, should be either taken down or replaced or both. And I think there might be an avenue to work with Dane County to nominate it for a replacement marker. And therefore you could you could get funding for it. Now that's all, I can't predict what they'll do, which nominations they'll work on. The committee, the Dane County Heritage Preservation Commission hasn't even been appointed yet. It's been approved by the county, so it's in statute, but they haven't really met yet. But this will be kind of the first order of business for them. The other thing to really think about if you want to do something more comprehensive is the National Park Service has a program where they will fund surveys for underrepresented community historic sites. The city of Madison went through that process and certified local governments are eligible for that funding. So if you want to do something more comprehensive for Monona, that program is eligible to CLTs, and we've seen that it really is a very effective way to kind of figure out what's in your community and what's worth taking a look at for a marker. And or, you know, nominating a property to the National Register. And that is one of the requirements of the grant, that you at least nominate one property to the National Register. That's what I say. All right, you're welcome.
I'll stick around.
Oh, Teresa, you're on mute.
Thank you. I just had a little question for Rick. I think if I understood it correctly, Rick, are you sort of offering your assistance as someone who's sort of in the know of this Dane County program that you spoke about?
Yes, absolutely. I could, you know, probably do a quick nomination of the Harry Whitehorse site in just a few minutes, because I am familiar with it. And I am familiar with the process, so I don't think it would take very long, but I didn't want to just do it on my own. I wanted
Right.
to make sure that the Landmarks Commission was apprised of the process and felt good about this kind of thing happening.
Absolutely. Okay.
Just to clarify, we did have this on our agenda for last week as well. We talked about a couple other sites, or last month, yeah, a
Okay,
couple other sites as well.
okay, good to know.
What, do you have the address, do you know his address?
For Whitehorse?
Yeah.
I don't, I think it's Chief Auto Parts, you know, whatever that is for that property.
1208 East Broadway.
Yeah.
The property that is under development right now,
Yeah.
the North Point development.
I don't know if he did work in his auto parts shop or at home, but I'm thinking it probably needed an industrial setting for some of the things he did with metal. So I'm fairly sure that he worked in his shop there, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay. Why don't we just, I get the sense that Rick is able to stay in the room for a bit longer, so thank you
Yeah.
for that little sort of like laying the groundwork there. That's really helpful. And then why don't we just move on to the next item on the agenda, and then Rick, we can come and loop you back in if needed.
Yeah,
So-
I would recommend we consider order of business for the minister, for Neil
Yes.
here.
You don't have to change it for me, I'm good. I'm here, you guys don't have to change it for me, that's fine.
I'll leave it up to you,
It's
Chair.
no trouble at all, but yes, I would have agreed with Thor, but why don't we just go ahead then and move on to number 5 under unfinished business, letter A, and we'll just discussion and possible action on amendments to chapter 18-8 of the Monona Municipal Code of Ordinances regarding the Landmarks Commission structure to allow for a citizen chair. Why don't I provide some updates, and then Thor can complement or fill in where I may be missing. So it was in past discussions of this body, the idea was that there's so much expertise in our community that is often far greater than that of the alder assigned to the committee. And therefore, it might be nice to, let me just back up. If we have the expertise, we also have in this and every community, the need to grow our next generation of leaders. We have the need to allow citizens to participate a little bit more in committee operations, committee rule work, and understand how the city liaison operates and works with the committee, and how alders and the structure of the city, just to build that next generation of leadership is an important need that we in all communities have. So by allowing a citizen chair, it seemed to check both of those boxes, that we would get the expertise and the engagement, and then we would also be able to, you know, ramp up people who might be interested. Since our last meeting and the council meeting where this was voted or this was presented at, I was made aware of some history of the Landmarks Commission that led me to table the vote at council and bring this back to this body for a discussion. It seems that years ago, this body did have a citizen chair, a non-elected chair. And that seemed to close some doors on some opportunities. Without that liaison, so to say, with city staff, the work of that older landmarks commission just didn't really move ahead as quickly as it now does move ahead. And so when our current mayor, Mary O'Connor, when she was on this commission, I believe it was her who suggested that there be an alder assigned to the body and that the alder be the chair. And of course, every member, no matter your status of a chair or not, every member can still fully participate in every way. But when that change was made, it seemed as though the work of the commission seemed to really take off and start to gain some speed. And so for those alders on the council who remember that time, the proposal that we're putting forth to them seemed like a step backward. And so tonight, I'm hoping that this body, or I'm asking this body to consider, instead of having a citizen chair, would you, there's the option to have co-chairs on this committee, like there are on many of our committees. Many of our city committees have 2 alders assigned to them, a chair and a co-chair. This committee could still have 1 alder and we could still have co-chairs, but the co-chair would be a citizen. That would retain the alder, the connection that seemed to have been missing before. It would still allow for a more leadership position from a non-elected member. So that to me seems like a happy medium, but the decision is yours. And the conversation I turn over now to Thor in case I've left anything out or if there are any questions on the floor.
I don't have anything to add. Yeah, I'm opening it up to discussion with the commission.
I will start a discussion because I was on that commission when there was no alder on the commission and we had a citizen chair. And I think a lot is being left out of that conversation you just spoke of. When I started on the commission did not have a very robust ordinance for landmarks. As we know, it was a paragraph. We worked really hard to rewrite that ordinance so that we could become a CLG status. And in part of rewriting that ordinance, we added an alder to the commission. I don't recall when or how we discussed that the alder would chair, because at first it was just they would be a citizen member on the commission. I do not believe that having an alder was what made things start moving. I believe it was the changeover in people. We had many retired members. The only reason I got on was because somebody passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was very hard to get on the commission at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that part, I agree that yes, they probably had a little bit too much of a inside, their own little entity control. But their mission was not the same as what our mission is now.
Mm.
If you look at the old ordinance, you know, that it was, let's decide what should be a landmark. They never documented why that was a landmark. That's why we started that process. So I don't believe that having an older is what made things move forward. So I don't think that that is a fair argument.
I'm glad you clarified that.
I have a question as well. Is it not possible to have a citizen chair and just still have an alder person be in the meetings to bring back things to council?
I think that's what we were proposing in the first place.
Yeah.
And originally with what we have written. And, you know, if you look at any of the CLGs in, you know, Wisconsin or other states, whatever, any cities, the alder is usually the co-chair.
Okay,
That's not to say they're never the chair.
Well, it states here that the chairperson may be either the common council member or a citizen member.
and is that the language that?
So
we-
to the one right here, Exhibit A.
Yeah, is that-
18.8.
That's in red, that's what we are.
Yeah.
That's what we
So
are.
that it's right there, it states it can be or a citizen member.
Yes, the red is the
The red's
The proposal.
red is new.
Oh, that's what I see, okay, gotcha. Cause it sure looked fine to me. I mean, you got all bases covered with that one there.
You know, I honestly don't have a preference to which it is. I think we should have a co-chair for sure. I'm just looking at what is typical for other commissions and
Yeah. I do think the most important thing is the co-chair. I agree with you totally, Rebecca.
but I don't believe that what they're saying is fair to the commission.
Yeah. It did seem to me that what was being communicated was that there was this cause and effect, you know, because there's now an alder, all these things started to happen. But what you're saying is because there was an ordinance change, that's when things started to happen. Yeah. Is there the risk, now that we have the ordinance? I will also share with you, another concern was, how do we prevent this body from slipping back into, you know, perhaps, you know, not being a productive committee? It sounds to me like the ordinance is there to prevent that. Or what would you say to that, Rebecca?
That's what I believe, though. That's why we created this robust ordinance. That's why we became a certified local government. If we were to drop any of these responsibilities, we would no longer be a certified local government. Thor has to fill out, you know, a form every year to state what we've been doing to
Yep.
remain that status.
Yeah. So the document that Anne was referring to in the meeting packet with the red markup, that is the language that went to council. The language which I said, hold on, let's pump the brakes until we're sure. So what I'm hearing is that this language needs to be slightly adjusted. And we would want to speak to the idea that there should be a co-chair. Or is it?
So,
Last
yeah,
year.
so it does allow for co-chairs,
Mhm.
but by any two members, so if council's concern was that the council member should still be chair and a citizen member co-chair, this would theoretically allow for, you know, two of the citizen members to co-chair, so maybe a slight tweak to the language, you know, to say maybe shared by the common council member and a citizen member as co-chairs.
Mhm.
Or perhaps it is good just the way it is. What do others think?
I don't think that there's harm in presenting it the way that it is.
I think to smooth feathers, you need to put what Thor said, because they're wanting, the planning commission or whoever's in charge is still wanting Thor to be here. So they want,
Well, I would be, I'm at the.
Or staff.
City
no, I
administrator
understand it,
basis,
but what I'm saying is that at least they want some staff kind of at the top.
No, they want an alder.
Yeah,
They want a
So we don't
Teresa.
have an alder, is
No,
that what our
Teresa.
problem,
Teresa's our
Teresa,
alder.
right, so what they still want that buffer at the top. So I think using the language Thor was saying of it being the co-chaired with that council, it kind of smooths it a little, like you're just asking for a little bit more, not a lot more.
Yeah, I will say too, council can also propose changes to,
Mhm.
you know, the commission can recommend the ordinance as they see fit, and if council does have preferred changes, they can make those changes at the next council meeting. Alder Rodemacher wanted to bring this back just to get the commission's general sense before any of
Right.
those changes were made.
Are there any other commissions that are pulling in that co-chair from the citizens also? Or is this the only one that is making the suggestion?
Yeah, this is the only board that's making it.
So I think they need, I think we, to make it shoehorn in and make the top happy, I think we need to state that there's still a council representative here, so, you know, in charge in the sense, but co-chairing it so that they feel that there's still some government entity kind of controlling. Does that make sense or no? It
I
doesn't, it
understand
doesn't.
what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I don't. Just because one or two of the council members or mayor,
Mhm,
you know, that's of 7 people.
right,
So just because one or two have a concern doesn't mean they all are gonna have the same concern.
right,
And, you know, to John's point, who's not here right now,
Right.
like, he believes that most of the commission should be the way we wrote it,
correct.
so.
I would also say, let's not do their job for them, like, we can present it, and if they have a problem, they can come back and say, add this little piece.
So, right, yeah,
And then we can,
so just give them a bone to work on a little bit and then work it out. And that makes sense too.
Mhm.
cause then they feel like it's coming from them.
Correct.
Right.
Right,
Which
yeah,
is
and that's
exactly
what I
they
was
want,
trying to do, is kind of saying, we're
Yeah.
trying to appease you, stay with what you want, so we're just asking for a little bit. And then we'll, you know, next time we come to you, we'll ask for a little bit more, but maybe doing it this way would be, like you say, then they have the input.
It can be very clear with what they
Yeah.
want.
Yeah,
So in that case, am I hearing that we're just gonna take the document you see as
Yeah.
is and put it back on the council agenda for a
yeah,
vote? And this will be
Yeah.
the second time it appears on the agenda, so it'll be approved or not approved at that next council meeting.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful.
It was tabled, so it'll be a second, first vote, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, great. In that case, let's move on then. And Neil, are you sure we cannot get you out of the room faster?
If you guys wanna throw me out, I'm happy to do it, just real quick, whatever
You're
works for you
being
all, it's
very
fine.
polite. You're being very polite, you're being very kind.
I think we're all curious too.
I'd like to entertain a motion to take this agenda out of order to jump down to 5D. Can anyone do that, please?
I so move.
I will second.
Perfect. Then we are on the agenda, number 5, letter D, discussion and possible action on nominations to the Dane County Underrepresented Communities Historical Markers Program. Oh, I'm sorry. Did we intend to move down to letter 6? I'm sorry. We're gonna jump down to number 6, new business. Discussion and possible action on the Royal Airport / Charles Lindbergh Airport, which is at West Broadway and Highway 12 and 18. We're gonna talk about the landmarker there. So, and our city administrator, Neil Stickschulte, is with us to talk.
Thank you, Alder. Thank you, commissioners. Just wanted to give a little update and actually ask for some feedback from this body. Figure this is right up your guys' alley. More so certainly than myself, even as the administrator and staff. Obviously, certainly Alder Bernstein's comments kind of set the table for this one. Very much aware, certainly in the light of today's political climate, the increased sensitivities to some of the comments and positions that Charles Lindbergh had regarding right around World War II, and certainly anti-Semitism, and really just generally, with the All America First movement and other things there. I'm not gonna belabor that point. I think most folks are probably aware of that at least a little bit. We can certainly provide more information. I mean, Thor did give the PBS article that was in the packet. Pretty significant. It was like an occasional off comment here and there. It was a very substantial position, I think, that he took in several cases. So certainly while we want to acknowledge the aeronautical engineering wonders and the transatlantic flight and so forth and those types of things there, this is just the actual language that's on the marker right now. It's part of that. So this is so again, so specifically what that is. So when we, so Alder Bernstein and I talked about this 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and started kind of looking at this. The City Hall, we had several picture of the marker, including some photos and things here in City Hall, right at the end of the end of the hallway between police and administration here. Started talking about that and raising, talking about some of these concerns that we had. So we've temporarily at least taken those down in City Hall. We have those, I have them in the office right now, so we can make a direction on some of these discussions we're hopefully going to start having here. Did a little bit of research in terms of kind of identified, certainly just again, the legacy, obviously just a highlight of, why we do recognize Charles Lindbergh. So some of the aspects that he's had. Certainly the key thing, he received a Service Cross of a German Eagle from the Nazi Germany here in 1938. Very multiple offensive comments. While isolationism itself was certainly a valid political point at that point, not certainly for the reasoning that I think that he was essentially isolationist and very anti-Semitic and very, I guess, derogatory towards people of color, even to very proven false genetic arguments and it's a very ugly kind of history that is associated with that part of them. So conversation turned to what we should, what should we do something, and if we do, what should we take a look at doing? So this is actually regarding the actual marker that is out on Broadway and on there, but obviously impacts what we have here inside City Hall here as well. Options were, and we have had several conversations with other local historians. Certainly we have, a couple people at the Wisconsin Historical Society. What would our options really be here? We've had part of some of our diversity efforts raised this as a question, and they were very much agreed that the city, if it was interested, should do something. So we kind of came up, really the way I packaged these options is kind of these 4 ideas that we could look at. We kind of phrase these, certainly if folks are familiar with Mr. Mosna Block from the Historical Society, who's a resident and very active person in town. It kind of reached out to him and asked him his opinion on this, and he certainly was, he couldn't give an official Wisconsin Historical Society perspective. He did acknowledge, he said, Neil, number one, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of these markers across the state that are culturally inappropriate or dated or have inappropriate language in them and need to be updated or changed. He says, so that being said, he goes, we have the resources or the schedule of the plan to actually do that right now. Probably not very likely to happen anytime soon. He says, and so I asked him, what his options and things we could do. And he said, we raised one of the clear options is like, by simply taking it down or removing it, you're kind of throwing it under the rug and not acknowledging kind of some of the awful stuff that really came along with this. And if we really want this to be an educational opportunity, maybe we should think about finding a way to somehow, certainly leaving that there, but then somehow adding to it or enhancing it somehow to qualify that while these aeronautical things were great, these other things were certainly not so great and certainly not consistent with the values of the city of Winona and the state of Wisconsin, or however we wish to phrase that. Which I thought was really kind of hit home with me, and that seemed to be kind of the best option to consider. But so this last slide was kind of, these are what certainly to do nothing. Certainly would not really, I think if we really wanted to do that, we wouldn't be here talking with you guys. Removing the marker, again, similar situation is that would certainly achieve some of the goals of addressing some of the negatives, but again, it would not necessarily improve the situation or provide an educational opportunity. So a long-term goal, I think, is maybe pursuing revision of the state marker itself with the Wisconsin Historical Society. I don't know exactly what that would look like. Maybe assistance with Dane County and their program might be a good way to address that. I think, but if we wanted to move on it relatively quicker, adding some sort of secondary a local marker or an information station next to the existing marker would be something we could do fairly quickly. Highlighted the two things specifically, I think in terms of kind of to proceed, if this is something this group was interested in and kind of giving staff some direction to pursue this a little bit. What sort of sign or display would we want to use? There's several different styles, and depending on how much information we would want to present and what sort of budget we would have. But then the other one is actually determining the content and then the actual, what we would actually put on the sign. I certainly, Thor and I can go back and spend a couple hours and Google some things and come up with something. It kind of feels like this is an important enough thing. I do feel this could be precedent setting, and I think the state would actually be kind of watching how we would address this and possibly try to replicate this throughout other areas if we were successful. So I do want to kind of take it kind of seriously. So either engaging, if it's somebody from the university or someone from the Historical Society or someone with that plus some DEI kind of background, who would the right person or persons be to maybe help us phrase this content on what we would like to see on this? Look, just a very quick Google search. Looked like a lot of these signs and markers of the budget generally is between $500 and $3,000 roughly. Just depending on what size they are. Certainly figuring out exactly who actually is that sign in the right of way, and if that's when you put something next to it, the approval process to get that done, just make sure we understand that. That also would determine the long-term maintenance responsibilities, which for a sign, once it's up there, usually not that much else you gotta do to it unless something happens, it gets hit by a car, or God forbid, something else happens there. And then kind of talking about, I think this would be an important enough thing, it would be something notable enough to probably want to do some outreach related to this. I think it would be a great opportunity to kind of do some things to celebrate the good part of the history, but also still shine a light on maybe some of the not so great part of the history too. So we just kind of wanted to present this to this group for some feedback, and if you guys have some ideas or direction for staff, we would love to hear it. So again, we think it's a great opportunity, something we can do and move something fairly quickly and do something that could be very well received. I know Nehemiah, the organization, we did some diversity training on this, that we kind of reported on this back in the summertime, and they were like, can you tell us when you guys get that done? Can we see that? Because I think they were very interested in sharing what we would do with other partners they have as well. So with that, answer any questions or comments would be great.
So there's not a way to put a plaque on top of that one side?
That's a possibility, I think, in terms of doing that. It's like I said, depends on how much we want to rewrite or just, do we want to cover that up, or do we want to?
Well, I'd say, I'm saying, could you get have a new script written, but then put that on top of that side so that you don't have another marker?
That would probably be something we would take a look at in terms of doing that. Again, that would be kind of a replacing, removing it or replacing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or there's the secondary kind of picture underneath the main.
And then that
sign.
picture's that too, and that's on the airport side, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Same thing.
So again, this is the Historical Society sign.
Mhm.
It's their sign. So we would, if that's the case, we would have to certainly work with them directly and to get something done. Yeah, it depends on how much important I think the educational component is. We wanna excel with this is kind of, I guess, the question on that. So.
I mean, a quick Google search, just on like racist state historical signs is talking about doing this exact same thing, which is putting an informational sign, so you're not erasing the history of what actually happened. I think, to your point, having someone that is preferably a DEIJ expert writes the content would be incredibly important, as opposed to even like the State Historical Society or, I think that would be an important context to layer in there. But I love the idea of a second marker and then eventually getting the state marker revised.
So I thank you for bringing this to us. This is a really big topic in the National Trust for Historic Preservation.
I can imagine.
And with that being said, I think that they may have funding for that. And so that could be something we look at, and they may also have, they do have precedent for this around the country. So I think that we could look to them for, you know, some of their precedents
Excellent.
and how they go about adding. I don't think they remove, I think they
Yeah.
add. We don't want to remove history just because we don't like it.
Right, right.
So I think that a first step could be to look into the National Trust's funding and then also their guidance on how to add to it.
Okay.
And I can probably find a link or a couple links for you if you need me to.
Sure. Yeah.
That's anything.
This may also be topics in their conference that I'm going to in 2 weeks,
Oh.
so.
Cool.
Great
That'd be
timing.
awesome.
It's good timing.
Yeah, let me know if you need to, yeah, if you need a packet of information or anything to take with you. We'll gladly send it with, but, yeah, it's just, we're certainly looking at it as an opportunity. I think
it's a
there's,
great
yeah,
opportunity. The long overdue opportunity.
Yeah.
yeah. I do think this could, certainly for Monona, this could be a precedent, now we might deal with other opportunities going forward, but I do think this could very easily gain steam and be recognized at a larger scale than even just us, if we do this, if we do something really great, so.
Yeah, it's a wonderful opportunity for Monona to lead by example on this. This is great. Yeah. Just so for my own understanding, I think I'm getting a sense that folks are in favor of an additional sign. Leave the current sign as it is, add an additional sign, and then eventually perhaps work to change the original. Is that what I'm hearing, or am I hearing something different?
I think some people are saying the end one. but
Some,
not
okay.
the end
Yeah.
one.
We kind of want to follow I would want,
Precedent,
yeah,
yeah.
whatever the state was really kind of doing with theirs. Yeah, I think they said it's still retaining, even if they did a quote unquote new sign, we probably want to still preserve the original content and then add something with it somehow, but yeah, not, again, I agree with Rebecca, not to erase.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
just,
Sorry, Teresa, if you're willing to open the floor, I think Rick had.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You wanted to share.
You can't see me over here.
Rick, I cannot see you. My apologies.
When I was at the State Historical Society, I used to administer the historic marker program. And I think there are some restrictions on having a marker side by side. So if you want to, you probably want to check with the State Historical Society and see if that's the case. They, you know, you have to work with them in taking it down. And because they have a pretty good editorial staff, a lot of times the marker language was run by the press. So they're professional proofreaders and editors, and they can help you put something together. Because writing a marker is a distinct form of writing. You're really working with a very shortened amount of characters allowed for each side of the marker. But you might want to just double check, as I recall, there was something about in their administrative rules that you can't have a marker next to another marker.
The trust, like you said, Rebecca would have a good idea on how we might be able to do that too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's something we should.
I mean, that's if you want a marker from the Historical Society.
Right.
There are other people who have other marker programs that you could work with.
Does the commission know if that second photograph of the plane and the hangar, is that from the Historical Society as well, or does the city add
That
that?
was well before our time,
Okay.
well before. What did I think it said 2005?
Yeah.
That's my first marker when I started working with the program.
Yeah.
So you did that marker?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Well, I came in midway, so all the work had been done, but when it was finally time for delivery.
But it tells you of the time period, 2005. So
Yeah.
that's part of our history.
Yeah, no, absolutely, that, not that long. Yeah, that's the, yeah. So,
That hangar must have just been enormous. 17 planes, my lord. Okay. What
Yeah.
next? Is there any further discussion required? I think we know what needs to be done.
Yeah, I think that's from a staff standpoint, that's perfect. That will keep kind of doing a little bit more homework on it. And we'll certainly keep the commission updated on that.
Yeah.
Like I said, if we get some opportunities for some additional feedback, we'll make sure Thor is aware. He's probably gonna be the man on most of this going forward. I'll certainly help out where I can, but
Good.
so. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil, and thank you, Rick, for bringing this up and sort of nudging some action on this. It's really important. Speaking of Rick, do we want to jump around again in the agenda to go down to 5A? Why don't we do that? Can I have a motion to take things out of order?
To 5D.
5D, I'm sorry, yes, thank you.
I'll move.
Second,
Okay,
All in favor, fabulous. All right, in that case, let's go to agenda item number 5, letter D, discussion and possible action on nominations to the Dane County Underrepresented Communities Historical Markers Program. Okay, Thor, take it away, please.
Yeah, so Rick had a pretty good introduction earlier about the program, and we did discuss back in our August meeting, and a couple ideas were thrown out. Then there is the deadline for the end of the week. We need to make submissions by. So it seems like the form is pretty simple and pretty quick. And we could share that this week pretty easily. We have some sites identified. So I would just open it up to the commission to discuss what sites are worth nominating and why. And to recap, I think the sites we discussed at the August meeting, we were thinking about native sites, and Grand Crossing Park came up. And also, Ashley brought up Stonebridge Park. And some of the other mounds,
We talked about
like Panther Mound,
outlet mound.
yeah.
I think with such a very near deadline, some of the private properties might not be
Mm.
an option if you need the owner's approval.
Yeah.
Whereas Grand Crossing city owned property. So the Stonebridge Park.
Stonebridge.
an outlet. You said outlet.
Oh, yeah.
There is a marker with this,
Those
there's a
yeah,
city
that-
marker at Outlet Mound.
There's also a
State marker.
register.
Okay.
I think it'd be really cool to do where Harry Whitehorse as well, but I think you're gonna probably need chief on whoever owns that property,
Yeah, we're gonna need more time, yeah.
which they might want, yeah, because that's 3 days away,
Yeah.
2 days now.
Yeah, would San Damiano be? I mean,
I
as
don't think we
related
have
to-
enough information on San Damiano
Straw.
site.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that, we just, yeah, it's 3 days.
The archaeological survey that the Friends
Yeah.
group did earlier in the year didn't turn up
Didn't turn
Yeah.
anything of importance.
We know.
Which seems, yeah, anyway, go ahead.
I don't know if they're gonna do this again, but it'd be great if they did. And then we can have some time to look at some of those private property.
Is there, can someone just
I
help
mean,
me with my own understanding of the significance of Stonebridge Park? Ashley, can you help me with that? Was it you that suggested it?
I was under the understanding that it was used, the spring was used by indigenous folks in the area. And it was
Prior to the.
prior to the pagoda. I don't have documentation on that, so that would be the hard part.
and the spring is not flowing.
And
any
spring is
longer.
not flowing,
Yeah.
yeah. So Grand Crossing.
I think for the ones we absolutely know would be an easy yes.
Sounds like Grand Crossing is coming to the top.
Yeah.
What are the next steps now that we've got a winner picked?
Um. We'll need
Well, what
to,
about Crosswood Park? The beach, is that not, there's nothing
Neither
there,
of those have
nothing there?
any like,
Cause there's things
Substantial
along that path
information.
there, yeah.
we know that that whole
Yeah, I know.
side was encampments, we just don't have. Charles Road, but
so here's what the nomination form looks like.
Hmm.
You just select a location on the map. And then. Group of people that the location is important to. What happened at this location? Who was involved in this event? Where did this event take place? And then. This is information about the submitter.
I mean, maybe they look into. The ownership,
Yeah, so there's nothing on the form about,
talking to.
ownership or
Yeah.
if you have approval to place a marker. So,
Maybe they are the ones that go in and look to get the approval.
yeah, so probably no, if there are other options that are on private property, probably no harm in at least nominating it. I think the purpose is to get places on the radar of Dane County and their board.
I mean, if that's the case, I wouldn't mind doing the Harry White Horse property.
Okay.
Can we do more than one?
Yep.
Rick's done 4.
For this round of
Yeah,
Have you
nominations?
done any in Monona?
I didn't do anything without talking to Landmark first.
What are your thoughts, Rick? What are your thoughts for the,
Well, with Grand Crossing, I think there's a possibility that would make a great landmark, but I've searched for information about that, and I just haven't found anything.
Oh, we have some information on it. Yeah.
Well, if I had that, then I think it would make sense to put that on their
It's in
radar.
What I shared, right?
Mhm.
Was it? I have some information.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
I think it
Not in what
was.
I shared, then it's in that same book or same, might be a
That-
different volume.
Okay,
And then the pagoda, because of its Native American significance as a,
That might be in that book too.
uh,
Look,
might be,
I don't know if we have time, but
might be worth nominating,
Maybe
whether,
someone else has time.
but again, I haven't found a lot of information. But others have told me that
You know,
that's the case.
it would be nice at the pagoda to have an additional sign, right? I think the current marker just talks about the farmer who built it.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. No?
I think she's saying yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, the sound is cutting in.
anything else like the Panther Mound or any other mounds?
I mean, we know the Panther Mound is there. So if we don't have to worry about the ownership, then sure.
Mhm.
I know there's the Frostwoods group, but I don't know whose properties are on.
Yeah. Okay.
And how much of them are still
Mhm.
intact. I know people have some of it in their backyards, but.
Yeah. Okay. So I have Grand Crossing Park, the
Mhm.
Harry Whitehorse property, home and studio,
Mhm.
pagoda potentially. Or Stonebridge Park in general and Panther Mound.
Mhm.
That's pretty
Okay.
substantial.
Good list, small thing.
For 2 days away.
Yeah, so I wanna make sure we have the resources
Yeah.
available to actually, write something to
Yeah.
describe their importance.
I think it only would take a sentence or two.
Okay,
You don't have to go into great depth. They're just looking, just want a list to work from.
Hmm.
And then I think additional investigation will go.
And they'll follow up with us if they have further questions.
yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
That's a
So-
good list.
Mhm.
Harry Whitehorse, I have the information, but the others,
Yeah.
I probably need whatever you think you have, you can share with.
yeah, if,
Unless other people wanna do the nomination for those, that's fine too.
yeah, I'm happy to work with you on it, Rick.
Okay.
We can share it. You know, before we hit submit, we can share it with the commission members. If you have any tweaks, you can let us
Mhm.
know.
Okay.
But yeah, and if you, Rebecca, whatever resources you have to share,
Okay.
take those.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well done.
Hey,
Mhm.
alright.
Seriously, that's really well done. That was great. I feel super happy about how that turned out. All right,
And the good news is if anyone thinks of anything else between now and Friday, you can also submit, you know,
Yeah.
individually,
Yeah.
right? Any other site.
No, my eyes are just rolling around where we're different indigenous people.
And you shared with me that the tree
The tree.
that's by Monona Motors,
Mhm.
right? Can you speak more to that?
So yeah, there's a
Maybe?
tree that's right across the street from Monona Motors. It's a large cottonwood, I believe, or a birch, I'm not quite sure. But it is in the shape of a W. Not the one from the Mad world, but there's no money on it. So it's big W, but if you look at the map that you submitted there with the trails, there's like 3 trails that split there at Monona Motors almost. So
Yeah,
was
yeah.
the tree a trail tree? Signifying 3 trails.
Huh.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a large tree and it's always been there all my life. My dad said that it was a trail tree
Interesting.
and that there was another one further down on Winnequa.
Mhm.
But when they put in the curb and gutter, they took the tree out.
Oh,
And that was a tree that was 2 trees with a tree running in between the tree, which is a trail
Mm.
tree.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
So if there's a trail tree already there on the trail, why wouldn't there have been one further back?
Mhm.
So this is the intersection there, you can barely,
Oh, wow.
that's the, I don't think that's it.
I think it's across the street.
Motors side.
Yeah,
oh, you
so
think
you have
it's
to
not
turn
that?
a little
I
bit.
think it's across.
Did I submitted 3 of them, didn't, so the trees over here more.
Okay, let me pull up the different. Yeah, you sent 3 photos.
Yeah, cause, and then I realized you can see it from the other way, but the light was bad that day. The light was shining into the camera.
I think this tree here,
That's over to the side. You can do the, I'll have to get a better picture. See how it's got 2
Just go to Google
trunks?
Street View.
But already now the family is putting one of those tightrope lines on it.
They don't know better.
And it's on the one that's got the scar.
Okay.
Oh.
That's
Let's look
really,
at that next.
Interesting.
so I would like to somehow, if that could be marked as a trail tree. I think that would be,
Is that on the easement or is that?
that's in their yard, but it could be in the pit of their easement. You know what I mean, right on the edge of it.
Yeah,
it's, but you
So-
could probably the right
It
way.
looks
but,
pretty close.
Yeah,
we get a small sign.
but we can check the city.
And like I say, the tree was large when I was young. It's always been large. It's not like it was a bush that somebody trimmed into that shape. It was always a W. And there was a trail, like I say, down at Winnequa Park, when they put in those newer houses along
Yeah,
Winnequa Road there. So
And
God,
you're-
no- yeah,
You're putting an idea in my head. Could probably just Google up this answer, but can trees become landmarks?
Absolutely.
yes.
So this body could designate trees as landmarks.
You could do a rock as a landmark. Like if it was Chimney Rock that we had in the middle of. You know what I'm saying? That could be a landmark because it's Chimney
And-
Rock.
And if the tree were a landmark, what would that mean for the owners of the tree?
That they can't cut it down.
They can't cut, they have to take down that.
I mean, they'd have to come to
Well,
us,
Yeah.
basically. They just have to follow the ordinance.
Right. And like I said, I just within the last 2 weeks is when I saw the tightrope apparatus go up.
I
Or
think
kids are gonna take away their tightrope.
Yeah. Go to the park.
it's probably on city right away. I think it would be, so here's Winona Motors, I
Okay.
think it's this.
So it's the
street
lot on the
here.
corner, correct?
It's pretty close,
I
right?
think-
Where's
I think
the,
there's the base of the
do you think it's
tree
right there?
there.
Yeah, then that's city property.
And they have it strung out there to the tree on the other corner there.
Well, that's a pretty good tightrope. I'll go on it.
So I know I have to fill that paperwork out, so. To nominate it as a,
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
we
I
could
have-
nominate it as a landmark.
and then
I-
I,
Just takes any individual.
and I've
board
given you
commission.
the write-up, and then I just get a better picture, right?
Yeah, and even if.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Have any.
So, should I talk to you?
No.
Yeah,
That we might be able to.
Call her.
help them.
Well, that
So
would be
did I-
if the City Works were doing something, or if Monona Motors, and like I say, being there at the trading post,
Yeah.
Right, yeah, for sure.
for sure.
And I think that's fantastic. So did I understand correctly, and I apologize for the sound, did I understand correctly that you said you would write something up for that?
Yeah, I wrote it, I sent the pictures and the write-up to Thor
Fantastic.
already. So
Fantastic.
then I would just have to fill out that nomination form, correct?
Mhm.
And you
And I-
said you thought it was a beech tree?
It's either I think it's a cottonwood or a birch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the
You would
name.
have it on inventory if it's.
yeah, I don't have access to that, but I can email the city.
And I can
forester.
take a better picture from the other way. I just didn't wanna step in their yard and I wanted to try to get it all.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Anne, for doing
No,
that.
it's
I
okay, like I
appreciate it.
say, I just now that when I saw the tightrope go up,
And
I'm
you
like,
would be our first nomination for real.
That's
For
pretty
real what?
Nominate
amazing.
that tree, like we've been filling out our old nominations, but
oh,
you would be our first new nomination.
still gotta get that guy on top of the hill. He won't do it. It's
Mm.
beautiful
So,
home.
Sorry to break in here. Just in the spirit of, in the interest of time, I'm just gonna move on to the next item on the agenda. So number 5B, discussion on 2025 Historic Preservation Month Planning Walking Tour. Rebecca, would you like to share something?
I will share, I had another meeting with Erica and the Madison Trust. After we attended the tour, and then after Erica and I did that short walk, and we all met after that. Erica had a family emergency where she's taking care of her mother right now. She does not know how much time she has to help us currently. She fell, she's okay.
I'm sorry to hear
But
that.
she's you know, recovering. That being said, I think when Erica hopped on board really quickly was she thought she was gonna be writing a Frostwoods tour.
Yeah.
Since she grew up in Frostwoods and they have oodles of information. So what we came up with in the last meeting we had was that she will write that tour.
Okay.
And we will do that tour in 2026. And hopefully we will have that nomination passed
Mhm.
or in the process of being passed. So for 2025, we could do a smaller, let me go back to the smaller walking tour that we were thinking of.
Mhm.
Erica also believes that's more of a social history tour rather than an architecture tour that the Madison Trust typically does.
Yep.
So, they would still help us in regards of, however. They
Yeah.
need help us with the template and whatnot. But we would be the ones that would put it together and tour it.
Yeah.
So that being said, we would probably need a couple people to put together a small tour, and then it could just be a walking tour for people to do, or if there are people we wanna contact to maybe be docent for it. I don't know.
But in the Frostwoods area still.
No, the Frostwoods one would take place as a Madison Trust tour.
Gotcha.
And it would be
Gotcha.
I didn't finish that, did I? It would be their special tour
Right.
that we just did in Dungeon.
Right,
So it would be their special tour for 2026.
2026, right.
They would help us put that
Nice.
together for, they would run it.
Nice.
So the one.
That
we-
was a really, have any of you taken a tour with the Madison Historic Trust before?
It was really good.
I mean, Rebecca, obviously, a number of times. It was my first tour.
My first tour.
Oh, was it yours? Okay.
Yeah.
I was really impressed. It was lovely, and I'm really happy to think that they might do the same for us here in Frostwoods. But for the smaller walking tour, so did I hear correctly? The decision then is, do we want docents or not? Is that what you said, Rebecca, for that 2025 smaller
Yeah,
tour?
I think we would have to make that decision, like,
Yeah.
what we would be touring. And last time we talked about a smaller chunk of like,
Yeah, I think it was like a
Those
13.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, right where
And-
Thor is circling. Yep.
and so we would have to come up, I mean, we have the landmarks book to help us out with
Mhm.
what each one was, but it would either be individual led tour on your own, or we would have to find some docents to run it.
It seems like we could do it in like a stepwise manner, like put together the information into a flyer or something that we could share on the website so that people could do it on their own, and then if and when we have the time, we could add on to that and do,
Mhm.
maybe this week we're doing a docent tour
Yeah.
or something.
And then also Erica still offered Bungalowing for like a special event during Preservation Month.
Nice.
I love that. Love that.
Mhm.
Okay. So what are the timelines? When should we do what and when?
Well, I think we would keep the same timeline that we had.
Yeah.
Which I don't have in front of me. But basically, I think it was like writing it all the way up until. For research and writing all the way up till January, and then putting it together to be ready for
Yeah.
distribution in March.
You know-
So write the content between now and December. In January, put together a subcommittee to create, plan for the logistics. Get everything printed by March, and then the tour in May.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think even if it's an individually led flyer kind of sheet, that, we can still get some sponsors and get the word out.
Mhm.
I appreciate Thor giving us a little rundown of some of the milestones we talked about hitting. Personally, I think it would be nice if, we actually like put together a more of a formal plan, like a document, like here's what's going to be done by whom, by when, due dates, make sure that we get this thing out the door. I would be happy to meet with anybody to get that started. Or maybe just Thor could email us, the points that you just hit, and it's just a matter of putting it into a spreadsheet with a column for the date and a column for the person assigned to it, and we just go back and keep looking at it in between meetings, make sure the work is always moving forward. And do that too. Thor knows that I love spreadsheets, so. Yeah. All right.
You excel at them.
Oh my goodness, listen to you.
Mhm.
You're so clever. You should have a leadership role, Rebecca, in this sense. All right. So then what's next? Are we done with this one? Is there anything more to say about the walking tour? So I think we're gonna put together a project plan.
Yep.
Yeah, all right, sweet. Then I'm gonna move on to number 5, letter C, discussion and possible action on Springhaven Pagoda Restoration and Preservation Project. That would be for Thor to speak to.
Yeah, I don't have any new estimates since our last meeting, so still have the 2 estimates, one that's more complete from Legacy Architecture for $13,000 to prepare a treatment plan. And then there's the other one that I don't have in the packet, because it was just, a 1 sentence that I received from Preserve LLC, that was at $12,500. This quote from Legacy Architecture is is good through the end of the year. I did ask if they thought a remaining budget of, which would be $52,000 then, if that was, in their opinion, sufficient to cover the actual rehabilitation work for the pagoda, and they weren't willing to, you know,
Mhm.
give an answer, which is expected, you know, that's not their specialty. And, so I guess my recommendation would be, I'm to just keep seeking estimates, in the meantime, keep trying to find someone who can provide an estimate for the actual rehabilitation work. You know, we don't need to lock anything in today, but, you know, maybe by the end of the year, we want to make a decision whether or not to hire an architect or a similar firm to do the actual treatment proposal.
Did
And I
you,
know I've asked this before, but I just want to steer it into my memory, and apologies that if I'm repeating the same question. It's my understanding that doing nothing is not an option. We cannot allow the pagoda to be, we cannot cease taking care of it. Is that?
Yeah, we have an
Alright.
obligation to keep
have
it
an
in
obligation,
good
yes.
repair.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ordinance does have, you know, variances in there for financial hardship, and for the, overall betterment of the community and things like that, so. We're not putting ourselves up, you know, legal jeopardy, in any way, I think by what we're doing, you know, we are making a good faith effort right now to do something.
Yes, we are. Okay.
And, you know, in the winter, we cover it and tarp it to prevent further degradation from frost. But. Yeah, and for budget, just to remind the commission, I've been told by the finance director that the capital budget line item will be carried over to next year, but then after that, it would just.
they're giving us
it
one more
roll,
year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're giving us one more year,
They're giving us one more year.
and then a
Get it
new
together.
fresh ask would have to be.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
we really have 1 year to get that pagoda figured out.
Yeah, or, you know, or to line someone,
Line
someone up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
did
okay.
you reach back out to Preserve for a more detailed?
I haven't reached out in a couple weeks, but yeah, worth following up. They were going through a family
Yeah,
emergency
yeah,
at the
you
time.
mentioned that before, yeah.
What would prevent us from moving forward with one of these two options that we already have, so that we could get contractor quotes for the scope of work that they would outline?
The only thing is it's committing $13,000 of the budget, and we don't have the confirmation that then the remaining portion would cover the rehabilitation work.
It's kind of like a catch-22, isn't it? Like, we can't get construction quotes because we don't know what the scope of work
Right.
is.
Mhm.
Potentially,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
which is why my recommendation is, let's not make a decision tonight.
Sure.
You know, let's hope, I'm gonna keep working to find
Mhm.
that estimate, but
I
maybe.
mean, there's gotta be some comparable. Like, how much did the fountain cost that, what's his name, that did
Yeah,
the
Andy
house?
Stewart Fountain,
Yeah,
I think it was.
I mean, that's probably a much
six
bigger job,
figures.
right?
Yeah, it was a much bigger job.
Or is there anyone we can talk to at City of Madison? That, I mean, I'm sure they've got lots of like small.
Yeah,
I might have it in.
yeah.
I might have
Okay.
it. Let me get back to you.
Yes, yeah, yeah, I'll keep looking. The professional who did the Andy Stewart Fountain, I was in touch with at one point, like almost 2 years ago now,
Mhm.
but he's been out of the country and. I
Got
can't
it.
get a hold of him.
That's recent enough that that could be comparable in cost of material
Yeah.
and labor, really.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm gonna say it was in the six figures. Certainly,
6 figures.
yeah, there's an ISPIS article
Well, that
here.
just, well, okay, but that's for that big one, so.
I think what I'm hearing is a recommendation from staff to just sort of wait a little bit, And let Thor continue to plug away? Okay. Any objection to that recommendation?
No,
Okay.
But we do have a timeline, right?
Yes, yeah.
We have a timeline that is directly correlating with the budget. Yeah. Okay. Which, you know what? Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we'll make this happen. All right. So we're done with the unfinished business. New business, we've already covered 6A with the Charles Lindbergh Rural Airport. Thor, do you have any staff updates for us? Number 6B, updates discussion on the Frank Ellis House, or updates to landmark documentation?
Yeah, so Frank Alice House, I don't have any update from city administrator. He said that they're still kind of in the same place with the MOU with the Friends Group as they were a couple
Okay.
months ago. The focus has just been on the city referendum lately. But I've been told it's getting closer. Once the referendum is once we're past that date, then you would expect to have something within the next month or two. And then at the previous meeting, the commission had discussed moving the boulder with the landmark plaque away from the street and back towards the house. And I worked with Public Works to make sure that was okay. But I didn't know where exactly we wanted to have it placed. So I wanted to discuss that with the commission tonight. And I do have some just pictures of the property for us to look at.
Maybe like a Google map too. Like a
Oh,
overview
sure,
of it?
yeah. Start with that.
Is this a decision that we need to, is Public Works ready to move on this right now, Thor? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, once we make a decision, then we'll let Jeff know and he'll drop it off. We kind of walked the site and he had thought, wherever we wanted to go, it should be fine.
Nice. To Rebecca's comment, oh, never mind. Looks like it's here.
So it's right here, right now.
Yep.
The circulation this is the entrance here.
Yeah.
So, I think it makes more sense to have it visible as people are entering
Yeah,
the
yeah.
park.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So there's a couple big trees here, it could be placed at the base of one of those trees, either close to the house or across the street from the house. There's a little landscaping bed that is pretty overgrown right here, but it could also go, in that landscaping bed right there in
Is
the
this
house.
decision ours to make?
Mhm.
So the Friends group doesn't need to be, I mean, even as a courtesy, it
They
feels
own
like
it.
just, what's that?
They don't own it.
No, I get that, but they've just put in so much time and energy, and I just, for the sake of maintaining good working relationships, a courtesy, conversation would not be a bad idea.
I mean, the Landmarks Commission has always placed the boulders.
Okay.
So I mean, we
Yeah.
worked with the Rindell Mound, or Monona Mound, I'm sorry. Just because that was private property.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it
That
was in the right of way, like,
Yeah.
there was no really good right of way for that one.
Yeah.
So what did Jeff, where did he suggest? Because he's gotta get machinery and plows
Yeah,
around it.
he's fine anywhere, yeah.
I like that entrance idea, and I think close, not across from the house, but at the house.
Yeah.
it looks like I think there's a pathway on that
Yeah.
north side of that house.
Yeah, I think there-
And maybe at
Yeah.
that corner, yeah.
Yep, so
Like right-
here's the view as you're entering,
Yeah, like where that tree is
Yeah.
somewhere.
On the right.
this tree here.
Yeah, so
Right there.
car can run right into it, turn quick.
Or the plow,
Here's
like they
the,
plow it out. Oh,
Yeah, I
there's that
don't
little
think that,
green
no,
bed,
I
so
think
that's
that
gotta be
part
lost.
is too messy,
yeah,
and yeah.
The nice thing about putting it at the tree is that then you're sure not to get in the way of any, landscaping work that
Yeah,
the
So they'll
Friends
just
group
shove
like,
the snow on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, yeah,
I think that tree location is.
Yeah, the tree looked good.
Anybody else?
it is, yeah, I like that as
Okay.
well.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the back of the house for sure.
Yeah,
No.
just not too close to the crown of the tree. I'm really into that
Like
lately.
somewhere,
You can
wherever
just-
they feel it's appropriate, it's not too close to the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff Johnson's our city forester, so he's always thinking about,
Sure.
you know.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
And then, Thor, what about mowing? You know, would the parks crew have any thoughts about putting something next to the tree?
Yeah, ran it past Jake as well, and he had no issues with us moving it
That's
wherever.
great.
Put
Okay,
a bag of March mulch around it.
so I was thinking the same thing, Anne, that
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
All
Oh,
right,
that's
well, yeah.
lovely. It's just a nice way to draw attention to a beautiful
That,
tree.
that
Yeah.
helps a lot, because I think a lot of people come into that property and they have no idea.
Well, they
Yeah.
don't even know that boulder's there half the
I
time.
agree.
No, no.
Yeah, yeah. you'll
And
definitely see
they're
it.
looking to get out when they're going out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the.
Or they're looking to get in when they're going in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool.
And then I don't have an update on landmarks documentation, but I should update you on the CLG grant and the contract with UW Milwaukee. It hasn't been executed yet. We're working, just getting the final language wrapped up. It's been a slow process, but the deadline is this Friday, so it'll.
So it has to be done by
Yeah,
Friday.
and we're all, both parties are aware, we're all good with that. It's just.
Don't wanna lose them.
It's, yeah, they don't wanna lose us either. So I'll let everyone know as soon as that's executed.
I'm gonna move on to number 6C, updates, discussion on diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. And I will just lead off by saying that we just celebrated Indigenous Peoples' Day yesterday, and the entire month of October, actually mid-October to, I think it's mid-September to mid-October is Hispanic Heritage Month, which is always nice to be aware of the beautiful textures that all of our neighbors bring to Monona. Anything else? I know that October 10th was World Mental Health Day. And of course, I think tonight, which by the way, I think this is the most productive landmark meeting I've been to in ages. This is amazing what was accomplished tonight. But just, I think we should really feel proud about moving this Charles Lindbergh marker forward. This is a wonderful step in the right direction there. Does anyone have anything else to contribute about DEIJ, DEI, sustainability? I will say that Rebecca spoke to the Sustainability Committee at our recent meeting, and she talked about deconstruction, which is incredibly important, and I look forward to seeing what can happen with that. Thank you for doing that, Rebecca. That was really impressive. Okay, hearing nothing else, I'm just going to move on then to our next meeting, or actually, Thor, is there anything that you'd need to add with requests for city staff, or do we have any requests for city staff here tonight at the table? In addition
like
to
a
all the
form
stuff
for
that
now.
we've already piled on Thor. Yeah,
I have
Great.
old ones, that's why I say that.
Okay. I'm down for it. All right.
in that case, our next meeting is November 19th. We also have a meeting in December 17th. Thor, do you have any issue with those upcoming dates?
The December 17th meeting is in the air because I'm expecting a child December 10th.
You are,
Yeah.
why didn't you tell us? So terrible deal.
I wasn't
Yeah, little granny pet, put it on and bring her in.
You're not having it yet, it's fine. Is this your first? No, it's not, second,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that'll be born, it'll be
You might
born
have already
tonight.
had it.
Yeah, I'll have an almost 3-year-old.
That's pretty wonderful news.
Yeah.
Wonderful news. Okay, so the December meeting is,
Up in the air.
okay, wonderful.
DVD, all right.
Yep.
In that case, we'll see everyone on the 19th of November, and perhaps Rebecca and I get together and throw together a project plan in between this meeting and the next one, project plan for the walking tour. And then something very simple, but just get it on paper. And then I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
And a
Bye,
second,
everybody.
all in favor?
Bye.
All right, fabulous. Thanks, everyone, for making time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You missed your dog
Thank you,
treats,
Lisa.
Teresa.
Oh, he's right here. He's right here.
Yeah,
taking
but
a-
you have a whole
basket.
basket.
No, I had a whole basket here.
What?